For this part of the programme, we've been joined by two gentlemen from Clooney Spancilhill Community Development Group. One, Tom Larkin. We've had Tom before, but on the phone, but he's here in person today. So, Tom, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
And also from the group is Sean Earls, and Sean from the Clooney Spancilhill area. You're very welcome too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I suppose John, we covered this before.
We did barely now, but yes. we've been postponing, and I suppose in a way, Jim, this is the first thrust into the area of energy that we're beginning to hone in on. Okay, and there's an amazing development in the Clooney Quinn Spancilhill area
with huge potential.
Oh heavens, and what it has to say to other communities across the country.
Tom, would you just maybe give us a quick summary maybe of when you started and what you're doing and where you are?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. We started around 2017-18 when we were discussing the different issues that were in our Clooney Spancilhill area. That was to do with road safety and population decline and all those. So,
and was there a population decline? Is there a population decline?
Yeah, there is, because last year our school, national school, lost one teacher, so it's gone from a 4 teacher to a 3 teacher school now.
But Tom, I have great difficulty in understanding that, because here you are, about 5 miles out from Ennis. What a marvellous location as a community. What would you call it? Village for communication to Shannon, to Ennis, to Limerick, to Galway. Isn't that right? That there would be a mad desire for building in Clooney.
Well, I mean, I would think that there would be a perfect place to live, but unfortunately, because of restricted planning, you're not allowed to build there.
And how do you read that?
Well, I mean, it's an issue that is there. It's one of the reasons why this group was set up, was the decline in population. So
that's the first thing that...
It's the first, it's a major issue. I mean, if your population is declining, it's not going to be able to grow, and it's not going to be able to function as a working community,
So what would you say to any other community across the county or the country? Well, we'd stay within the county. Do you know who's experiencing just what you said there, a decline in population?
Well, I mean, I suppose you have to really get the community, you have to start and putting a plan together, really.
How did you do that?
We actually got together in February of 2019, and we had a public meeting where there was some councillors went there as well. So we got a good feedback from that, and out of that came we did a parish or a survey then in the area as well. So out of that came the development plan for the area, the 5-year development plan, Clooney Spancilhill Community Development Action Plan. So from that, the issues that were raised there was road safety, environment was one, tidy towns, walks and trails. So we set up those subgroups as part of the main group in April 2019, and most of that year then was involved. Each subgroup went off and they started getting the names together and getting organised. So each subgroup would have 2 leaders that would work on the main committee.
It's a good structure.
Yeah. So we've about 11 people, I think, at the moment on the main committee.
Yeah.
We meet about 6 times a year. The Thai Town group would work on the crossroads and different things. You can see the Christmas tree at the moment at the Clooney Church there. They were involved in that. The Heritage group got involved in bridges, taking the ivy off bridges, and they're doing walks and trails at the moment in the area. The road safety group got working in the first lockdown as regards the the safety, and the first place they started was in Clooney village itself. So with the help of our councillors, Pat Hayes, Joe Clooney, anyway, we actually managed to get a town and village renewal scheme applied for.
Yes.
So that was applied for, and we were successful in that. And
what was the end result of that?
The end result was that we succeeded in getting over 100,000 for the works in Clooney. So, and with the cooperation of the East Clare MD area.
Oh yes, that'll be our
based here in Scariff.
Yes,
they did an excellent job in the footpaths and lighting in Clooney. So,
but how the one you mentioned earlier about the safety factor? Now that's something that seems to come up in the Champion every so often. Stretches of road in the area of Clooney or Quinn, you know, okay.
Yeah.
As the Clooney area. Have you had progress on that, on the safety factor with?
Well, I mean, we are slowly making progress. You know, I mean, the big step was to get the Clooney village area resolved. You know, obviously Hinches is a big problem as well, and Spancilhill cross as well. So
I want to build a house now in the village. The place is looking well. Do you know? It's proximate to large population centres. Can I get permission to build a house in Clooney?
No, outside the 250k zones, there's no permission allowed.
None. So what's the future at this point then? What's the future for villages like Clooney?
That's the reason why we're addressing the needs, because of the future generations won't thank us if they have to go to Limerick or Galway or Ennis for to live, and they won't be able to live in Clooney.
So that could bring us then. It brings us, I suppose, Jim, to the main topic which we're interested in exploring, which is your interest in energy, which should be an interest every single community across the country.
Yeah, we were a little surprised as a result of the survey we did and the action plan that came out.
Yeah.
That the energy and the environment was very high up in people's priorities.
Yeah.
So we set about then joining a sustainable energy community.
What's that?
It's what to do with the SEI. In order to get funding, we applied to them for the energy master plan.
Yeah.
And that'll give you a picture of what energy the community uses. So we applied for that energy master plan in August of 2019. We were grant approved in January of 2020, and then we had to set about tendering for getting tenders in to do the energy master plan.
Now, you did that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a tender. Now, unfortunately, there was no clear energy company that we could ask to tender, because we couldn't find any. So we had to go to Tipperary Energy Agency, and we had to go elsewhere in the Midlands. So
you're delighted. You'll be delighted then when you read that there's an application going in for 20 by a developer or development company. You'll be delighted to hear that, to provide energy in your area, huh? Would that bring a smile to your face?
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm getting at, like you can sense it, okay? And I see from the articles that appeared in the Clare Champion as well over the last 4 or 5 months, you've kept the profile up on it, fair play to you. But you do have a problem with regard to development companies putting up, wind.
Yeah, but just to go back to the Energy Master Plan. The Energy Master Plan involved doing surveys initially, and we did those online, and we handed out hard copies as well. So we got about 80 responses from those. And when when we got the energy agency company on board, who were Tipperary Energy Agency, they started working on this, and we were assigned a mentor as well, Garrod Fitzgibbon. So he's the SEI mentor who's available to us to guide us on this. So they started working on this energy master plan, which is really a picture of where we are as a community. For example, we know we have around 330 houses in our area.
In the that would be the village.
That's the village. That's the 25 townlands that make up Clooney.
Yeah.
We know that 95% of the houses in the community are bear rated C or lower.
How many? What is it?
C.
C.
C, yeah. So the bear rating is very low.
Yeah. That probably didn't surprise you, did it?
Yeah. Then we this is from the first interim report that Tipperary Energy Agency have done. There obviously the final report is coming out in the spring, please God, and when hopefully we'll be able to have public meetings again, because up to now all our meetings have been on Zoom. So the figures they have produced so far is the average heating bill per house is 1,360, and the average electricity bill is just under 1,000. That brings it to around, per house is costing around 2,300 approximately euros, and the CO2 emissions per house would be around 5.2 tons per year.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And are you suggesting to me that that money really should be spent within your own community if you could generate your own electricity?
Well, I mean, it does obviously shows you that huge savings being made for the people.
Yeah.
If you can reduce your bill, down from 2,300 down to, if you're using renewables, down to maybe under 500.
Yeah.
So I mean that has to be a huge saving. And also, if you had an electric car and you could charge it with your own power that you generate, there's a massive saving, long term there.
So what are they saying in the farmhouses and in the
Well,
houses around Clooney?
Because we haven't had a public meeting on this, it's all on Zoom with the committee.
Yeah.
And the Tipperary Energy Agency at the moment are completing they have just completed the audits. There was 8 houses selected for audits, and they were on a different, maybe back in an older house, a house in the 1970s and so on. There were picked 8 different types. They audited the school, so that'll feed into the energy master plan as well, and that'll give a clearer picture of how much our carbon is per house and per different sections of the community.
Can I ask you then, we'll say you're talking at the moment like an average of €2,300 per house for in terms of energy, including heating, electricity, everything like that, and you'd be hoping that can be reduced to €500 per annum or less.
Well, I mean that's only just a figure that will say that is possible,
And you would eliminate the carbon output that is, or the emissions that are going there as well. And I mean, to do that, you're talking about, we'll say, things like air to water, those type of heating systems, and you're talking about, taking out stoves, fireplaces, etc. And I suppose that there's a certain cost in that, which is maybe, what people would think of first. The cost of, I know that you have to weigh that up against the future of it. I know, Sean, you were talking about that before we started. The overall benefits of getting, we'll say, going away from carbon emissions, the cost benefits and the
health benefits as well. Tom probably was to come there to a figure that popped up at us was that it was costing, for the community, it was spending up to 2 million in fossil fuels and heating, cars, everything taken into account. That's 2 million, that's a staggering figure. So we looked at the example of Temple Derry, which was initiated by Father Paul. They are at the stage now where there's 1.1 million coming into their community every year. So surely it's a no-brainer. We're spending 2 million every year in fossil fuels, heating oil, etc.
In Clooney.
In Clooney, Spancilhill.
Yeah.
That is the figure that came up.
Yeah.
You know, so surely this has to be looked at of ways of bringing down that, using the grants and
Okay.
etc. for to bring houses and the heating of the houses and that.
John, this model is available to us to see in Templederry.
It is.
Across the Shannon, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not a question of kind of working in the dark. It's there is a model there.
Well, I suppose what the Energy Master Plan will do is it'll set out possible areas that we can work on.
And what
obviously the arrangement with the SEI is a long-term arrangement, and the fact that you're doing it as a community is much more beneficial than as an individual, and that you can pick up the phone to your mentor or SEI support, and you get support straight away rather than being.
So Tom, Mickey Joe is listening to this, okay, this morning, and he's saying, God, I must get into that. Do you know, he's living out in Clooney. How does he actually now become part of this, if you like, evolving project?
Well, I mean, as when the report is launched, there'll be an opportunity, and that'll pinpoint different projects that we can tackle. So, in other words, if they say you could go for maybe retrofit 10 houses in 2022.
Yeah.
Well, there's a possibility then to apply for that as a group. And your hope is that you'll better do it cheaper as a group and get funding as a group.
Yeah.
Rather than as an individual.
Are you optimistic?
Well, sure. I mean, if we look at the Aran Islands, what they have done in the Aran Islands, it was a very slow burner when they started off on this road. But they have 80 houses upgraded now on the Aran Islands. And now it's starting to take off. So that when people saw the benefits. So, you have to learn from what other communities are doing or done. It's going to be very slow because we all don't like change. Change it's painful because we have to change,
Yeah.
But
down the road,
obviously, for a younger person, it would make much more sense to do it because they're looking at a saving over a period of 20 or 30 years.
Yes.
It would make it, for an older person, it wouldn't maybe make as much sense. But as Sean said, it's about the quality of your air in your house as well,
Yeah.
And it's a healthier house then.
Yeah.
But obviously, there is between around 35% grant assistance from the SEI at the moment.
That's for retrofitting.
Retrofitting and all that, But the other thing to remember is that the possibility of microgeneration, that you'll be able to generate electricity for your use and to sell back to the grid as well.
Yeah, and that's guaranteed now, isn't it?
Well, I mean, they're now fitting the smart meters. They're rolling those out at the minute.
Yeah.
And when they go live in another year or two, few years' time, I'm not sure exactly the date they have set because of the lockdowns and coronavirus, maybe that's put back a bit. But people will be able to generate their own electricity and sell it back to the grid if they have excess. Or the alternative would be to have a system where they store themselves and reuse it in the off-peak or in the times when there's no sun.
Well, right beside you is Sean, the farmer. And I'm thinking, why doesn't Sean have solar panels? After you have sheds that are ideally located, haven't you, for solar?
I have.
And avoid all the...
I think the main problem having solar on the farm up to now was you were not guaranteed, if you had surplus, that you could sell it back to the grid.
Are you now guaranteed?
You are now guaranteed. You are now guaranteed, and I can actually report on that. Under the new scheme now, farmers will be able to generate renewable electricity and sell surplus electricity back to the grid to generate income.
Right.
According to the Department of the Environment, Climate and Communication, farmers will now be able to export 100% of what they can produce.
You happy now with this?
I am. And like the new, as we all know, the new cap policy has been passed in the Dáil in the last week for the period 2023 to 2027. Now, this is going to be a huge change for farmers. They are going to have to look at climate change and ways of making extra money because they will not be able to expand cattle, etc.
So where does that put Sean?
I now will have an opportunity, maybe not me, but bigger farmers will have an opportunity to use all their buildings and put solar panels on their buildings, create electricity for themselves and sell at an upgraded price. That's something that has been granted in this, is a certain price for the electricity that I can produce.
Yeah. And Tom, how does that fit into your wider plan?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's this is what the Energy Master Plan is about, really. You know, it gives you a list of opportunities, and it's about really opportunities.
And are there?
And it's a picture of where we are this year, 2020, 21, 22. It tells you where that community is. But obviously, as years go by, as projects are, please God, are being done, that energy master plan is evolving and changing all the time.
Where there's a hen harrier problem, which we hear about in East Clare quite a lot, and does solar energy present a better option than, in fact, wind energy? Solar
energy is less financially beneficial.
Really?
Yeah, the solar would be only about a little over a half as efficient. The margins are tighter. Now, you need to be, obviously depends on the distance from the grid connection.
But you're fairly close, aren't you?
Yeah, you need to be within 2 to 3 kilometres we understand, to make it anyway viable.
Yeah.
Even some of the commercial developers, when they get their grid assessment back from the ESB, they find that our project, remember now that the developer is getting less per unit for their energy generation than a community would. So I suppose that's an opportunity for communities, but certainly your wind is more beneficial financially.
Okay, so now that presents a point for argument, doesn't it, really? Because some segments in communities object to wind mills, don't they?
Wind turbines, yeah.
Wind turbines. Is that not?
Yeah, and you have the problem of, we said, the hen harrier.
Yes,
and
to deal with.
You presume you can't put wind turbines in an area designated for the hen harrier, is that?
Yeah, well, we have checked out several sites, and we have got advice from SEI on this, and we're being told that because of the hen harrier, it wouldn't be possible to put in wind turbines as it stands at the moment because of the law around hen harriers.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, if we are to become 80% renewable energies by 2030, I don't know how it's going to be done. If there's obstacles like the hen harrier putting people's way, it seems strange that you would put in a turbine near houses, but you wouldn't put them because of the hen harrier. So that doesn't make a bit sense to me.
What do you make of that, Jim?
Yeah, I think that's a bit crazy. I think we're gone too far and in one direction.
Yeah.
Tell me, where would you like to see Clooney Spancilhill in 10 years' time in terms of energy, or in 15 years' time?
Well, I mean, it'll be. The hope is that, like what happened in the Ireland Islands, that they will be buying to this, and there's a huge lack of people need to be informed as regards the benefits of this. Up to now, we only see the negatives. We see the turbines going up, and the reason why there's negatives around the turbines is because too many of them had put in together, and they're all developer-led turbines. So that means that.
What does that mean?
The developers come in, a big company, he's put in the turbines, he has every turbine you see is probably making about approximately $500,000 plus income
per annum.
Per annum. So generally what happens is that development company then flips it over to a retirement fund or some investment fund, and all that money is leaving the country. So I can see why people are up in arms against all these turbines.
Yeah.
If, on the other hand, there was a couple of turbines owned by the communities and bringing income into the community, then I think there would be a different attitude towards it. But certainly having a whole load of them, 30 or 40, anytime I go back to West Lair, I see them there, and I know that all that money is leaving West Lair. It saddens me to see that there's no benefit going to the community.
What about the developer that you talk about? He flogs this point very strongly. The community benefit, the money that...
Community Benefit Fund.
Yeah, and now, do you have a feeling about that?
Community Benefit Fund is, I think it's time limited to 15 years. Now, I stand corrected in that.
Yes.
And when it's divvied out, it's small money really. A house within 1 kilometre will get €1,000 per year. A house within 2 kilometres will get 500. And there's a small percentage thing given out to local clubs in that area. But that's really benefited, only lasts for a very short time.
Yeah.
And meanwhile the turbines are left there. So it isn't really any. Whereas on the other hand, if a community group got together within a 10-kilometre region and work and assisted when the planning application goes in, that they would be able to get up to 5 megawatts owned by the community as part of that development, then there'll be money come back to the community for the help the community to grow.
That'd be like the Temple Derry.
Yeah, but they would. Okay, there might be 20 turbines, but 2 would be funded and owned by the community, and the 18 would be owned by the developer.
Yeah.
But the 2 would be always owned by the community, with a kind of a co-op type structure.
Yes.
So therefore, you're talking about the community then benefiting. Obviously, the community then would be owned by the community groups in the area, whether it be parish councils or sports clubs or whatever is there,
Yeah.
And as many of those get involved as possible, and they would have an income coming in every year to help their communities. So it could be Tidy Towns groups, it could be anything.
And if for example, the model you're selling this morning, if that succeeds and you do produce surplus energy, do you remember we talked before, Jim, about the possible uses for surplus energy apart from feeding it into the grid? How about the idea of using surplus energy generated in Clooney to actually heat vegetable buildings so that we could produce throughout the year instead of only 3 months of the year? We could produce things like peas, and other greens that come from South Africa, from Peru. You go into a supermarket.
That's one of the the data centre that's been proposed on the Tulla Road at Junction 13. That's one of the proposals in that is that they have a vertical vegetable farm there.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
That they would generate from the heat that generates.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
And can you benefit in Clooney from the proximity to the proposed data centre?
Well, I can't see us benefiting at the moment because of the planning restrictions. Because all the development and housing are going in the Roslevin area.
Yeah.
And that's what's been developed. And there's no development. First of all, we haven't the infrastructure. We haven't the wastewater treatment facility.
Yeah.
To allow for any development to go ahead.
Yeah. By the way, that's another one. The wastewater treatment. You have a problem with that, haven't you?
Well, we haven't any.
You haven't any at all.
No.
which is the reason why John S. can't build a house in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have to put up. You have to buy half acre, and you have to put up your own septic tank. But they won't allow you to do that. But they won't allow the alternative isn't there for you.
Hey lads, but do you know something? Are we architects of our own misfortune? Or, have we the democratic will to actually change things that are counterproductive? Would you agree with me?
I'm just thinking of our, the National Development Plan or the County Development Plan.
Yeah.
Does a lot of that come from on high? and can't be changed.
Well, I
at
mean,
local level.
I think you mentioned a very important point. The draft development plan is out at the minute. And I think that they're looking for submissions in the next few months.
Yes.
But I mean, if that, from what I hear, if that development plan is implemented, it will mean that people will be pushed into big towns and cities. Innis will grow, and rural Ireland, East Clare is going to drop in population. And we are the example on the verge where we can't get planning, or where we can't get people can't live there anymore.
Sure, this is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Sean, what do you...
Well, just looking at the CAP programme again, I can't come back to it because it's farm related. There is, as part of the CAP plan, that there is up to 30 or 40% of the money is going to go to rural development.
Yeah.
That is very important.
Yeah.
See, people haven't got to know yet what's in the 2023
Yes.
CAP plan, but 30 to 40% of the funds are going to rural development. So I think there is opportunities down the road once we get up and running.
You get together.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I heard a saying today: teamwork makes the dream work, and that's what it's all about. But unfortunately, in Ireland, I think people want everything to be done yesterday.
Yeah, but
Yes.
All this rural development, energy management, change from fossil fuels, it's going to take time, money and patience. And I think the fear that's out there in communities like Scariff and that is, it's all going to cost money. It's all going to cost, and that they're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but that mightn't be exactly true. I think if people listen behind what's happening, I think that there'll be golden opportunities for rural development.
That there would be money available in terms of grant aid, etc.
It's there. It is
but
there.
the only problem is if your draft development plan will not allow development to go on.
Yeah.
There'd be no one there to benefit.
That is that is the big problem. I think we're at a crucial point now with this draft development plan.
Yes.
We need to. I mean, he's obviously been written by civil servants, down to the people. But I think the people need to have an input. I don't think rural Ireland should be a place that you just go for a walk in,
Indeed.
or you go for a trail. That is a place, should be a living place.
No,
People should be allowed to actually live there.
I said the four of us thoroughly concur with that, but so we only have about 2 months to actually make an observation on the development plan. Isn't that right?
That's right. It's I was trying to check it out before Christmas, but I couldn't really get into it. But that's what I understand. Yeah.
Well, lads, Jim, I know we're moving to our time limit, but
Just one very important thing there in relation to what Tom is saying as regards developers
Yes.
getting planning permission.
Yes.
Communities have their own niche
Yes.
to the grid. That's crucial for rural Clare and places like Scariff and Brough and that. The niche is there. So that if there is a bottleneck, which there will be, if the grids can't accept the data centres and all that's been put up, it is guaranteed that communities have their niche to the grid.
Yeah,
That's guaranteed.
I agree with you, but is it my final point, Jim? Yeah. My final point, lads, is this. We do live in a democracy.
Yeah.
I don't believe we use our democratic strength to actually bring about the necessary changes that you've talked about. So many of them are political decisions. Some of them are generated by Brussels. But if they are generated by Brussels, we have MEPs in Brussels. We have Sean Kelly and we have the others who are there. Now, Sean sat where you were sitting, Sean. Sean Kelly sat here, there, and he would love to actually sit there again, he tells us, and to tell what's possible.
Yeah, but the thing is, you see, they're talking about building a more passive houses. There's no reason why you can't build a cluster of passive houses in Clooney or in Scariff.
Indeed.
Why not? Like,
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Well, you ask, finishing my point, Tom, you ask your local politicians, to what extent are they willing to engage in these critical questions which end up, if they're not answered properly, end up with a rural decline, further rural
but I mean,
decline.
sadly, I'm very concerned that Innis is going to grow double in size in the next 20 or 30 years.
And policy will drive that.
And it will grow at the expense of rural Clare.
Well, that's the question.
And that's my big worry. Is that
And
everyone-
rightly so, you should
and I can
worry.
we can see it in Clooney on our doorstep.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're a farmer's son, you can get a plan permission for looking now, but that might change with a new development plan. So even that once-off house might be stopped with a new development plan when it comes out. So it's really going to kill rural Ireland then, and it'll close schools. It'll cause huge problems to GA clubs. At the moment, it's taken 2 clubs to make a team underage in Clare. It could take 4 in a few years' time. That's the way, if the population keeps going as it is. So I think the future of Clare is or rural Ireland is at stake here, and people need to stand up and say, what do we want rural Ireland as a place to live in, or do we want it just as a place to go on for a walk or for a trail?
Okay, we leave it at that, gentlemen. Listen, we really appreciate you coming over here this morning to Scariff, to the studio. It's been a very interesting discussion. Hopefully it will get people thinking, because I mean that's really why we broadcast these things, to get people thinking along those lines. So Tom Larkin and Sean Earls from the Clooney Spancilhill Community Development Group, many thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
And Happy New Year to you all.
And many happy returns.